This is Carrigan and Company. You know, folks, I've known the College Hype team for more than 20 years. They're a local screen print and embroidery company servicing the New England area and beyond. Now, what makes the team so special is that they have more than 35 years of experience and they do all the work in-house. I love their tagline, making a difference one t-shirt at a time. Speaking from experience, I know that is the truth. Learn more at collegehype.com. Hi, everybody. This is Kim. Coming up on Carrigan and Company, a top chef and a psychic reading. This is Carrigan and Company.
Carrigan and Company is here for you. Yes, Carrigan and Company is here for you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Carrigan and Company. It's so good to have you with us, and I'm very excited about today's mixed bag of weather. Oh, no, not mixed bag of weather, but we do have a mixed bag. We're going to be looking ahead to 2025 in a couple of different ways, like food trends and restaurant trends, which is very exciting. And we also have a psychic who's going to join us, and we're hoping that she can look ahead and tell us all about what's happening in 2025. But first, I am so happy to have a woman with me who I admire so much, a woman who, believe it or not, I did not work with, although I think a lot of people believe this is a reunion between the two of us, but we have known each other for a bit. It is great to have the meteorologist from Boston 25's morning show. This is Shiri Spear, and it's good to see you.
Hey, I do feel like we've known each other. We've only crossed paths like a handful of times, but I feel like we're old souls somehow.
Well, you know what I think it is? I think we've had shared experiences that were not shared, but they may as well have been. And we certainly share a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, I think before I ever met you, I just heard so many stories about you that it's like that first meeting we were already like years into a relationship.
And it turned out I wasn't so bad, right?
No, not bad at all. In fact, I'd say downright fabulous.
Well, it's great to see you. You know, I got to tell you something.
Tell me.
All these times that I have been with you, I've never asked you, Shiri, I love that name.
Oh, thank you.
So what, is it short for something? What is it?
So my name is a Hebrew name. My parents met in Israel and came here, and it's a Hebrew name that means my song.
I love that.
Thank you. But I answer to everything. Shiri, Sherry. I get a lot of Shiri Spears around here.
I'm sure you do.
I respond to all of it. It's like I don't even hear.
What did that mean to your mom and dad? Why did they?
I guess it's just a name that they liked. My song, I think it's a pretty popular name in Israel. My name is Shiri. My sister's name is Talia. They're names that you don't hear very often.
Absolutely.
But they're not as uncommon in Israel.
Well, so, I love it. I think it's beautiful. And it really, now that I know what it means, it really fits your personality.
Sadly,
so I love that.
I am not a singer. I can't hold a tune at all.
You and I, we have a lot in common. I always tell people, they say, if you didn't work in media, what would you do? And I say,
you don't say singer, do you?
I do. I say, I would be a singer. And they say, oh, you sing? And I said, not a note. Not a single note. But boy, I wish I could.
I think I'd be a volcanologist.
I don't know what that is.
Someone who studies volcanoes. I looked at it for like 5 minutes in college, thought it was super cool. Then I was like, how many job opportunities are there actually in the world of volcanoes? So I quickly moved away from that.
Well, first off, thank you I've learned something new today. You know what? I have to say, though, I think you would have gotten a great job because I don't know anyone who has that job.
Probably would have been in Hawaii.
I know. Weather would have been a little better than it is right now.
I miss home, though. The one thing you learn when you move away is that you miss home, though.
Yeah, so, this is home for you, and you did move away for a bit, thanks to working in media. It does it to you, right?
That's how the business works.
Yeah, but ultimately, you spent a little time in Miami, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I got my start in Western Mass in Springfield, and I was there for almost 4 years at my first meteorology job. Then I went down to Miami for 2. My husband and I and our kids, we thought we wanted an adventure. We'd always been New Englanders, so we were like, we want to go somewhere else. And it took us no time at all in Florida to realize that we wanted to come home.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no place like home, really. If you're a New Englander, this will always call to you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'm not even a New Englander, but this calls to me now forever because I've been here so long, so I kind of consider myself that. So I certainly understand what would draw you here. Shiri, looking at your history, there's something really fascinating about you that I certainly would admire you, even if I didn't know the story, and I do. But boy, I really now have to take my hat off to you. Becoming a television meteorologist is not an easy thing to do. Number one, you've got to get to school, and then you've got to get the seal, and then you've got to get employed. And you not only have to have this incredible ability to understand, because it's a lot of math, it's a lot of science, but you have to be, camera ready and camera savvy. So there's not that many people who can actually do that. The normal, maybe conventional path is to go to college, get the seal,
meteorology,
and then get on TV. That's not how you did it.
No, I took a really scenic route. I went off to college, struggled for my first 2 years. I was up in Montreal. It was a great school, but I got really homesick. And then my husband and I got married at 19 and 20, and he was in the Marines. So I quickly left that school, went down to North Carolina. He was stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Right.
I had started as an atmospheric science major at McGill in Montreal, but there is no atmospheric science major at a community college.
Of course.
In Jacksonville, North Carolina. So I had all these math and science credits, loved kids. So I switched to an education major. And ultimately, when he got shipped out with the Marines to Iraq and Afghanistan, I came home and stayed with my parents and finished up schooling at Riviera University in Nashua with a teaching degree. And then instead of going out to get my first teaching job, because I was secondary mathematics education, I wanted to be a 7th grade math teacher. I looked at the programs at UMass Lowell and I was like, you know what? If I don't pursue this interest in atmospheric science now, when am I possibly going to do this? There will never be a chance. So I went back to school and got my master's, went a really sideways route. All the math really aligned. So I had a great foundation. But I have a degree, I have a master's in atmospheric and environmental science. I don't have the bachelor's degree in meteorology. So it was a very long, very expensive route to get there. But what I think people at home might not realize, or people listening, is that almost all the meteorologists you see on TV, they did not major in communication. They did not major in journalism. They majored in the science.
Absolutely.
So we all have these science degrees, and then you just hope that someone's willing to take a bet on you and give you that training on TV. Mm-hmm. So I think standing in front of a class of 7th graders is way scarier than standing in front of a camera, honestly.
Well, I think you might be right. I think there's truth in that. Sometimes. I think they are, and I think they talk a lot. Mm-hmm. And they have phones. But having said that, now, the part that you're leaving out in all of this, as if getting that master's degree would not be tough enough, for example, I went to school, I got a journalism degree, I went out, I worked in the, smaller markets.
But I had a baby.
Thank you. You were a mom, and you had a husband who was active military. So you were taking care of that baby. You were going to school. I even read that you took the baby to campus.
To school sometimes?
Yeah.
So I love UMass Lowell so much. And if it wasn't for the supportive staff there, I don't know what I would have done. First of all, it's a very small program. I'm guessing there were probably 8 people in the master's program. So I had my daughter the first day of class in my 2nd year. So master's program, 2 years. So I had to take all these classes because all these classes are offered every other year. If I was to sit out classes, I wouldn't graduate. So there were a couple situations where I didn't have childcare. And I brought her and she would just kind of sleep there sometimes. I was a TA. And I would correct papers, and she'd be sleeping on my lap. I remember one time Dr. O'Brien was holding the baby. So the staff, they were just so supportive. And it wasn't the norm. I don't want to get anyone in trouble at UMass Lowell for allowing me to bring my baby. But there were a couple exceptions that were made, and I think it was just very human of them. And without those exceptions, and there was no disruption that happened.
Sure.
I was able to graduate. So it was tough. At that point, my husband was out of the Marines, but it was just, you're broke, you're working 3 jobs, you've got a baby. It was a crazy time, and I honestly look back and I don't know how we did it.
Well, and that's the question I was going to ask you. In retrospect, that probably wouldn't be the path you'd want to take.
No, but I think that it grew my roots pretty strong, and especially for my husband and I, we went through multiple deployments. We actually went through a divorce and a remarriage to each other, because it's very difficult when someone gets out of the Marines. It can be very tumultuous. It can be very confusing, very emotional. So we took a break for a little while, got back together. There were degrees. There were multiple jobs. So I think that grew our foundation so strong. Then I'm grateful that we went through all of that, because I feel like if we could make it through that, we can make it through anything.
Yeah. That has to be the advice that you would give young women. You can do it.
You can do it. And it's not always going to be easy, too. A degree in atmospheric science or meteorology, it's hard.
Oh.
And I'm sure there are some people that the calculus comes to like that. I was not one of those people. I had to take calculus 1, I think 2 times. There were tutors involved. The harder you have to work for something, the more I think you appreciate it in the end. And when things aren't just handed to you and you have to earn them and work hard for them, they just taste that much better when you get them.
I think that's very true. I think that road, although it hasn't been that long ago for you, I think would be even more difficult though for a young woman today.
I do too.
I really do, because I don't think. I'm looking at my daughter who's 23, almost 24. Yeah. She's a career woman. I'm thinking about your young daughters who are going to go to college, and I just think that the work atmosphere and everything out there is so competitive at this point. I just don't know if that would be tolerated. What do you think?
I think it would be tough, because I think, the cost of education is higher. I think the cost of living is higher. Right. I think social media makes everything tougher and makes the competition tougher. I think AI has replaced a lot of the human need in some of these fields. So I think everything is harder now. And as I have a daughter that is looking at colleges right now and deciding where she wants to go, we've had a lot of these conversations about making very good decisions where you're going to have enough support.
Yeah.
We want there to be support.
Absolutely.
We want there to be the ability to do it financially, because I think a lot of people have these hopes and dreams and are willing to either take out either big loans or do things that aren't setting themselves up for success in the future. Yeah. And I think just finding that balance, because you should expect to work hard when you're earning your way somewhere. Even when you get there, even when you get your first job, there's a lot of weekends, there's a lot of holidays, there's a lot of missed birthdays. You have to work to get there, and accepting that, but also having support, because it's not going to work without it.
You're so right. You have to have support.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, though, it's so interesting that you just said that about the hard work, because, again, my daughter is in that age group where they're all in their first jobs. And she's a pretty hard worker, but I get a lot of feedback from her about, other kids and whatever. And these kids, they don't get that quite like, we did. I mean,
glad
they don't understand.
Not me.
Yeah. I will say it. And that makes me sound like I'm 850 years old. I know. But, you're right. There's a lot of holidays you give up. There's a lot of birthdays. There's a lot of, you got to stay extra. And guess what? You're not going to get paid for that.
Isn't there research? I should have come with the research. I don't know where it was done, but I feel like there's been studies and stats in these younger adults that are now professionals expecting more of a balance than we expected.
I think you're right.
They expect, I don't want to say they're expecting to be handed things, but they are expecting more of a balance where we expected to go in and be the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
And we expected to have to sacrifice a lot. And was it worth it? I hope so. But there are, don't you have some regrets?
I think it was worth it, actually. I really do. I have some regrets, and I think I wish I would have stood up for myself sooner in some situations, which is something I'm pushing really hard with my daughter.
Good.
I think you do, as a woman, have to stand up for yourself, in some of these situations.
I think that is something that has improved over the years.
Yep, I think you're right. I think that this generation, it's different for them than it was for us, mostly after COVID, because now this whole idea of, you want me to work in the office? Well, if you want me to work in the office, I don't want to work for you.
Yeah, that's just not how it works.
Yeah. You and I never, ever.
No.
You went through COVID.
Although if somebody wants to put a studio at my house and pay me to work from home, I will do it.
Of course, but you've earned that.
That's just not how it works. You don't get to dictate
Yeah,
how
right.
it goes as much as you want to. You know, you can have dreams and aspirations and work hard to try and get there, but at some point, if you're working for someone else.
You bet. Absolutely. As my husband always says, you're in their sandbox, whether you like it or
Yes,
not.
you are.
Exactly. I just think your story is a great one. And,
Very scenic route.
Well, I love the way you say that too. It's a scenic route. That's
Yeah.
terrific.
It was a beautiful one, too,
Absolutely.
but-
Yeah. And it continues, and it's just great. And
you.
as I said, I admired you prior to learning about how you got there, and I have such an appreciation for how hard you have worked. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we got a great show, right?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm very excited about this. So coming up next, we're going to talk to a renowned chef. He is an 8-time James Beard Award winner.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
No.
I mean, no, I can't either. And he's written a new book, and we're very excited to get a chance to chat with him right here on Carrigan and Company. You know, folks, I've known the College Hype team for more than 20 years. They're a local screen print and embroidery company servicing the New England area and beyond. Now, what makes the team so special is that they have more than 35 years of experience and they do all the work in-house. I love their tagline, making a difference one t-shirt at a time. Speaking from experience, I know that is the truth. Learn more at collegehype.com. This segment of Carrigan and Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. We are certainly happy to welcome in our next guest, as I mentioned to you, an 8-time James Beard Award-winning chef.
Accomplished guy.
He is a writer, he has been an entrepreneur, and he's got a new book out, Why I Cook. We are so happy to have with us today Tom Colicchio, and it's great to see you.
Likewise. So that was a great introduction, but I just want to make it really, really clear. I'm not a writer. In fact, I cannot write. I had a two ghostwriters in this. Joshua David Stein, who is the writer of record, but my wife, who happens to be a very talented writer, also did a great job making sure my voice was in here as well. So I have to just say that it's not me who's writing this.
Wait, I have a question. How does that work? Do you give them notes? Do you talk?
Oh, it was
verbal?
interviews. So Josh would come to the house, and we would just chat, and I would tell stories, and then he would go and write them, and I would look at them and make edits, and then that was the process.
Cool.
Sure.
Well, this book is so cool because it's a cross between a memoir and a cookbook, which
Yes.
I just think is the neatest thing. I mean, I say this with all due respect. I think it's probably very, very difficult to put together a cookbook, and a lot of chefs do it. But the fact that you have combined the two makes this fascinating because it really it gives you some insight into why you cook.
Right, exactly. Well, the interesting thing, so I have owed this book to my publisher for about 17 years. And the reason I know that is because the second iteration of this book, I was first contracted to do a coffee table book, like the French Laundry Cookbook. And it was actually Anne Bramston who edited the French Laundry Cookbook, who I signed my deal with. And I started working on a book that was loosely revolved around this series I was doing called Tom's Tuesday Dinner, which was a lengthy 10-course meal. It was done every one Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday of the month we would do it. And I started working on it, and the recipes were really, really complicated, and so I decided not to do that. And then the second iteration was I was going to teach my then 15-year-old how to cook. And he was dabbling in photography at the time. He was away at boarding school. I'm actually up in the Boston area, and he came home for the weekend and came home for summer. And we started working on the book, and his girlfriend showed up, and that was the end of that. He was 15 at the time. He's now 32. So I know it was 17
Wait,
years.
whoa. Has he learned to cook?
And,
Can he cook?
I tried to buy the book back, and then eventually I agreed to do a book. But I wanted to, during the pandemic, I did a lot of soul searching about if I wanted to continue running restaurants and, what my life was going to look like. And I think we all went through this existential crisis during that time. And so I decided it was time to write a memoir. It was also during that time I was doing a lot of Zoom classes. And the question kept coming up, when did you start cooking? Why do you cook? Blah, blah, blah. And so I thought it was the right time to write a memoir. But since I contracted for a cookbook, I had to give them some recipes. And so that's how we ended up with this hybrid book.
Well, I think the hybrid is really, it's unique and it's really great. So congratulations to you. Why do you cook? Why do you cook?
Well, a lot of reasons. I found that it was something that I enjoyed doing at a very young age, and I was actually good at it. And there was something else that I was very good at when I was young, and that was swimming. I was a competitive swimmer. From the age of 9 to 13, 14, I didn't lose a race. And then, started getting into some of the things that I talked about in the book, which was really a lot of self-medicating because of ADHD. Again, at the time, I had no idea why I was doing it. And so a lot of the kids that I was beating when I was younger, all of a sudden in high school, they were beating me. And I'm a competitive person. I was kind of upset by it. And I realized I knew why. It was because I stopped practicing hard. And so I always promised myself if I found something else that I was good at, I'd really push it. And cooking was that thing. It just came very easy to me. It was something I loved doing. But as I explored in the book, there was probably a bunch of reasons. And one was, I found again, didn't know this while I was doing it, didn't really explore this until, the pandemic. But I would go back to fishing with my grandfather, and we would catch a lot of crabs and clams, and sometimes we'd catch fish. And this was a meal that we'd have in the summer, and it wasn't just the immediate family anymore. This expanded to friends and family and 20 to 30 people. And so I think I kept going back to the story, and I think that the idea of bringing people around the table was part of the reason why I cook. Mm-hmm. And then, as I talk about in the book, that there was a period in my life where I had to make a decision, and my life was really going in a bad direction. I was doing, a lot of drugs, and like so many of us in our industry, and I had to make a decision: what was more important, that or my career? And I stopped everything cold turkey and focused on my career. And so you can say that cooking kind of saved my life. So there's a few reasons why I cook. But I enjoy the process of cooking. I spend a lot of time cooking at home these days. But it's something that I just love to do. I was good at it, and it afforded me really a great life. And so those are kind of some of the reasons.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I left out when we introduced him is he's also a television star. A part of Top Chef, I think we would call you the head. Mm-hmm. Would that be right? The
head judge, yeah.
Head judge.
I guess that's what I'll call it.
Okay, perfect. Tell me about your life on TV. How do you like it? I mean, I think I saw you being interviewed somewhere where you said you realized that being on TV has a pretty darn big scope.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I enjoy it. And at first, I didn't want to do it. In fact, I said no 3 times before I said yes. And they kept coming after me, and I finally agreed to do it. And I always joke around that, I would go to these food festivals, and, I'm sitting next to Bobby Flay, and we're signing books, and he's signing 300, and I'm signing 20. And I didn't think it was because he had a better book. And so I understood the power of TV. But I avoided some of the early days of food TV. But in my first experience cooking on TV was absolutely, it's horrible. It was the Regis and Kathy Lee show. Really? And I had just won Food and Wine Best New Chef, so it was 1991. And I got back home from Aspen, and they called me up, and I think they actually called Food and Wine, and so they said, we want you there on Monday. So I had to go on Friday to do a little run-through of my demo, and I did that. And on the way out on Friday, these 2 stagehands were up to the side, and they said, hey, what time should I get here on Monday? They said, I'll get here at 8 o'clock. The show would go on at 10. I was like, okay, makes sense. So I got there at 8 o'clock, and his producer was just yelling at me, just like the entire time. You're going to mess this up. And back then, you had to set up your whole station yourself.
That's awful.
And every 5 minutes, she would come over and go, you're going to mess this up. You missed rehearsal. I should just pull you from this whole, you shouldn't even do this. And so I was freaked out. I have a VHS tape. I haven't seen it in a long time because
it's hard to go back to.
But you could see I'm pointing to the ingredients. My hands were shaking. And I was just so freaked out about it. And so Regis comes over. We start the segment. And I was doing this dish that was pretty elaborate for TV, but I had all my swap outs. The swap outs when you pull the cooked thing out from underneath the counter. And it was a dish. It was a braised red snapper. It was braised in a rosemary lemon vinaigrette. And then it was served with eggplant caviar. And the eggplant caviar was sandwiched between chips of fried eggplant. And I had this all set up.
Delicious.
And I take my eggplant, I slice it in half, and I score it, olive oil, salt and pepper, and I put it in the oven. The oven wasn't on. I didn't care if it was on or not. And so I had another one underneath. And Regis is over there, fumbling with the controls, trying to put the oven on. And I kept saying, come on over here. It's okay. And he's like, but the oven. I said, no, it's okay. Come over here. We have a swap out. And he comes over and he goes, well, I guess that's what happens when you miss your rehearsal. It's like, oh my God, he just threw me under the bus on TV.
Goodness.
And so anyway, so we do the segment and I just nailed it. It was just perfect. It ended right on time. Everything was done. And the producer came over and she's like, wow, that was great. She goes, you know what? Anytime you want to come back, let us know. I was like, I looked at her and said, he just threw me under the bus on national TV. I will never do this again. She goes, no, he didn't. He missed rehearsal.
Oh my gosh.
But I said, I will never do TV again. So yeah, but listen, I loved doing the show. Partly because of, I get to mentor because that's how I look at my role. I don't look at it as head judge. I really look at it as I'm mentoring these young chefs, and I'm giving them feedback, and I'm giving them really honest feedback about what I think, why the dish is successful or why it's not successful. And there's a lot of feedback that we give that you'll never see. I mean, keep in mind that we're shooting with 6 or 7 cameras per episode. We're shooting 14 hours a day. You're seeing 48 minutes, and it takes 2 days to shoot an episode. You see 48 minutes of that.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of feedback that we're giving. And so I enjoy doing that. Plus, I love the people I work with.
Would you say that's your proudest accomplishment, the mentorship?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the show, if you ask myself, Kristen, Gail, Padma, we'll all say that we're most proud of the people who come through the show that go on to win awards, open multiple restaurants. And they're giving back to our restaurant community. They become really important, plus you can see them all on Food Network. So we're really, really, really proud of that. But yeah, the mentoring piece of it is what I care about. The perks that come along with TV are great too, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, you've opened some fabulous restaurants. A restaurant that is very well known, Gramercy Tavern, of course, in New York, which I have been in numerous times, and have many others. So let's look ahead. We've looked back a lot, and we've certainly talked about the book. But let's look ahead. What's in the future for you, Tom? What do you do now that you've won all these awards? You've opened all these restaurants. You got a very successful television show. You may not be a writer, but boy, you're a good interviewer for a book. So what's next? What do you do?
Retirement's next.
Is it really? Can you?
One day. I have an older brother who I've never been jealous of in my life, but he retired last year. So no, I don't know. Craft has been open for 23 years now. I'm no longer associated with Gramercy Tavern. I actually talk about it in the book. In fact, I was going to buy Gramercy from Danny, and I thought about it over a weekend. Our deal was done. I was buying him out, and over the weekend I thought about it and threw out a number. He agreed to do it, and so Craft was already open. That's the other thing is a lot of people think that I left Gramercy to open Craft. Craft was open for 2 years before I left Gramercy, and so Craft, it's 23 years, and still, it takes a lot of work every day, and so I'm still doing that, and we have Temple Court in the Beekman Hotel that's keeping us busy. We're out in Las Vegas, that keeps us busy. We have a restaurant in Long Island called Small Batch. So the current projects keep me busy enough. People think I have a restaurant empire. I have 5 restaurants. It's not. I certainly wouldn't call it an empire.
More than we have.
That's pretty close to being an empire.
Yeah.
Well,
especially in this day and
there's
age.
other chefs. John George has about 30-some restaurants, and Nobu has about 60, and
Sure.
There's a lot of other chefs that have a lot more than I do. But we're looking at some other projects. Nothing's really signed yet. But I have enough to keep busy. I don't know if I'll do another cookbook. I doubt it highly. But who knows?
Enough's enough.
Who knows? We'll see.
Okay, let me ask you one final question.
I think nowadays, hold on a second. I'm sorry about that. Nowadays, just trying to be father to my 13 and 15-year-old and my 32-year-old and a husband. And those things have become much more important than my career. Yeah. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I would say my career was the most important. But, again, taking stock of your life, it's, during those pandemic years, I think really kind of changed my priorities.
I can understand that. Looking ahead to 2025 now, Tom, what do you think are going to be the trends when it comes to food in restaurants? Because I really do think that food in restaurants are trending.
It's hard to say. I'm not someone who always kind of focuses on trends or tries to follow trends. Kraft was probably the first restaurant to use Edison bulbs and placemats on a wooden table. I certainly wasn't following a trend then, but certainly started a trend. So I don't know. I think, again, coming out of the pandemic when people were eating in sheds on the street, I think there may be a movement more towards, fine dining and white tablecloths again. Yeah. That could be coming full circle. That can change quickly depending on the economy. But to me, that seems to be something that is moving forward. It's hard to say what the trends are, because a lot of times these trends that you're seeing are kind of focused mostly on chain restaurants. And so we're certainly not going to follow those trends. But and if you look at kind of casual dining, fine dining in America, I mean, that kind of there's so many different restaurants and permeations of restaurants and things that are out there. So who knows? Who it's hard to say.
I love white.
I can tell you things I don't want to see anymore. Why there was ever a trend of small plates for sharing never made sense to me at all.
Thank you.
Why are we sharing small plates?
I don't know. I was always hungry.
You go out with 4 people, and there was something you really wanted. And it just comes and it's put on the table, and by the time you get it, it's a smear on the plate. It's like, I want to eat the dish. I want to eat the dish from start to finish. I want to take all these different bites and find the perfect bite and eat around it. I don't want this fork full of food that's left. And then I think, and then you sit there and go, well, I don't know if I like this dish. Well, of course you don't know if you like it. You didn't eat enough of it. Right. So I wish that trend just needs to stop. It just needs to go. The other thing that I just hate is the food's going to come out whenever it comes out. No, if I order 4 dishes and there's 4 of us eating, I want those 4 things to come out together.
Absolutely. I agree. I don't like the sharing thing because I don't want someone sitting across the table putting their fork into my food.
Oh, see, with my family, I like to take bites of each other.
Yeah. Well, that's okay if it's my family, but when I'm out with other couples, I just soon really not eat out of
again, I think the pandemic
plate.
Actually put an end to that. It was like, well, I don't want to share this anymore. I don't want to share the same space that we're, let alone the food that we're eating. So I hope that goes away. I like to see microgreens just disappear for a while. Edible flowers I do like because there are some flowers that have a ton of flavor.
Yes.
I'd rather see that than microgreens. I don't know what other trends are out there. Again, I don't know what's out there in terms of the trends. So
it seems to me, knowing the restaurants that you have and that you have had, you've certainly understood how to entertain and hospitality.
Sure.
That is for sure.
I think that's what still people care about.
You bet. Absolutely. Tom, this has been so fun. Thank you so much. Again, the book is Why I Cook. And I really do recommend it to everybody because, again, it is a really unique book. And by the way, the recipes are much more doable. I'm not a big cook, and you've put together some recipes that are doable for people like myself.
Right. Well, these aren't restaurant recipes, and I set out to do that. I didn't want to do restaurant recipes. These were recipes that I cook at home for either dinner parties or if I have to put together a quick meal.
Great.
I mean, last night, I made a poached chicken, which it was funny. I saw Christopher Kimball, he had this poached chicken. I looked at it, I was like, it looks really good. I didn't follow that recipe, but it was like, just made a nice aromatic broth, poached the chicken in there, took the skin off it, sliced it over rice, some chili crisp, which I actually love. And I didn't make chili crisp. I actually made just a scallion ginger chili dressing. We just chopped scallion and ginger and put some chilies in there and then pour hot sesame oil over the top of it.
Was this under an hour? Did this take 5 hours? How long did this take?
30 minutes.
What? I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing a lot wrong.
Rice, and then I made a side dish of of squash and leeks.
Oh, Tom.
A little drizzle with honey. No, that only takes a half an hour because,
well, listen,
because that's all it should take.
When you're in the Boston area and you're having a dinner party, we can get our emails to you. All right.
Exactly. Yeah, but the recipes are really simple, straightforward, and
it's great.
I worked with a great photographer, Evan Sung, who did a great job with photography, and so
it's a beautiful book.
I'm really
Congratulations.
happy with this book. I the first book that I did, Think Like a Chef, I was really, really psyched with that one. The second two, I don't want to say I mailed it in, but I wasn't as excited about those two books. This one I really am. I'm really happy that they talked me into doing this, because there was a point where I didn't want to do this at all.
Well, I feel like
my agent and my editors talked me into it. I'm really glad they did.
Yeah, it's a very personal book, and it's very enjoyable. So again, Why I Cook. It's Tom Colicchio. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year. Good to have
Happy
you with
New Year,
us.
you too. Thank you.
Right, take care. This is Carrigan & Company. It's the most wonderful time of the year. You want to know why? Because it's Lucia Lighting and Design's annual Red Tag Sale. Head to Lucia Lighting and Design at 311 Western Avenue in Lynn before the end of January for the best deals of the year. Lucia has hundreds of items with red sale tags on them, and that means 50% off. These are one-of-a-kind display pieces that you won't want to miss. Don't wait. Get to Lucia Lighting and Design before the end of January for their annual Red Tag Sale. Learn more about my favorite lighting design store at lucialighting.com.
If you like rum, you're going to love Rumson's Rum, New England's most award-winning rum brand. Rumson creates distinctive and savory flavor profiles by hand-selecting and marrying the finest barrel-aged Caribbean rums. The spirits are then blended and finished in the New England Rum House. Choose from Rumson's Gold, Spiced, Grand Reserve, or Coffee Rum, which is smooth and sweet with a warm roasted coffee flavor, a hint of vanilla, and a decadent buttery finish. Find Rumson's at liquor stores or ask for it at your favorite restaurant. Learn more at rumsons.com. That's rumsons.com. Rumsons. Life lived, life enjoyed.
Welcome back, everybody, to Carrigan & Company. So good to have you with us today. And wow, was that fun to chat with Tom. He is terrific. Of course, keeping me company today is Shiri Spear. And it's so good to have you. He was fun, right?
Yeah, no, this is going so well. And I'm so excited for our next guest, too.
I know.
Yeah.
Are you a believer? Do you believe that people?
Not.
Okay, I love that. We are joined by a psychic medium. This is Candace Dalton, and we're so glad that Candace could join us today. And we, off the air, started to ask her a lot of questions, and then we were sort of like, okay, wait, blah, blah, blah. Before we get too excited, we got to wait and get on so that we can ask her these questions.
Well, you've had experiences with mediums before. I have not. So you're my first.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that, Shiri. This is so exciting.
Spirit virgin, you know.
Well, thank you very much for coming in. So
Thank
glad
you so
to see
much.
you. It's great.
I'm so excited to be here, and you guys have awesome energies, so it just makes it that much easier to chit chat.
This is the first time I've met you, though.
Yes.
And it's terrific. And I was saying off the air, but your aunt, I know Maureen Hancock, and she used to be, when I was on Fox 25, she would be on a regular basis, and she's incredible. And she suggested that maybe you would have some time to pop by and see us, and so I'm so glad you did.
I know, it worked out perfectly. I had nothing booked for today, which is like rare, so I was like, yeah, let's do this.
Wait, so is it just the two of you in your family, or?
There's more, but a lot of them are just kind of more like, oh, let me just stay off to the side. My dad has it, but he uses it in a way in which if he comes across somebody and he gets a hit, he will just give them the message, but he doesn't do shows or events like Maureen and I do. And my cousin also has it as well. But more of the family members do, but they've said we don't want anything to do with it for themselves, so they've kind of really put it in the back of their minds.
So, Candace, other mediums have said to me that really we all have this ability if we only knew how to tap in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that?
Oh, 100%. We are made up of energy, and our bodies just kind of host that energy. And so we are, after we leave this life, the body dies, but the energy still continues. And so it's just how much you're heightened into it. Anybody can, pick up a football and throw it, but the only way you're going to get better is if you practice and practice and practice. So you can't go to the gym and pick up 250 pounds if you've never done that before. So if you work that muscle and you continue to kind of allow yourself to tap into that energy the right way, then yeah, absolutely anybody can connect.
Can you do readings on yourself? I don't know if that makes sense, but do Do you get messages of your own?
I will get intuitive messages for myself, but it's harder for me to hear my own loved ones. So I think people believe like, oh my God, she's got like a full line connection
Sitting
to
on the
heaven.
couch with your whole family.
Like,
Full
hey,
conversation.
Graham, what's up? How's Jesus? Like, that wouldn't be the way. It's just kind of more intuitive hits, but I will get signs and things like that. But it's harder for me when I know that the purpose of the gift is to go help others, whereas I don't need that help. I really understand the whole process, so I'd rather be able to help somebody, heal them, relieve them, and all those things.
So let's back up just a bit. When did you first, tap into this? How? Because that had to have been scary.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I had major anxiety attacks and panic attacks about death and dying. And I would, like, my throat would close up. My parents would have to call the ambulance. And when I was 7 years old, my Auntie Pam passed away. This is my mom's sister. And when she passed over to the other side, I was hearing things, knowing things. So I'd tell my mom, and she'd be like, Candace, how do you know this? Are you listening to my phone calls? And I didn't know how to respond, like, oh, I hear your sister. So I kind of put it in the back of my mind. And then 2 years later, after my aunt's passing, my mom had to go under surgery. And while she was in surgery, she saw her sister and her father right before her. So it was a wild experience for her. And she called my Aunt Maureen. And this is my dad's side of the family. My dad's one of 9 kids, so I couldn't understand why my mom was just telling Maureen this. So after her call, I said, Mom, why are you telling Auntie about this, seeing your dad and Auntie Pam? I'm 9 years old at this time. And she said, well, Auntie's a medium. And I was like, oh, what's that? And she was like, she can connect to the other side, honey. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
goodbye. I knew we were just like a mental family, but this just like put the cherry on top. But it made so much sense for me. So because of the anxiety and the panic attacks about death and dying, I really put it in the way back of my mind until I was 14.
And at that point, you started to allow it to seep in, I'm sure.
It was it just happened because my March 5th, 2004, my cousin Sean passed away. And before he passed away, I had this intuitive feeling that something bad was going to happen. I just didn't know what it was. And then I saw my cousin Sean, and the phone rang, and we got the call that he was working underneath his car, and a piece of the car came down on him and killed him instantly. So that ignited it for sure. And from there, I started to get all these crazy signs, and not like just, oh, wow, let me look at, there's like a dead moth in the corner. Like,
Right,
hey,
right.
hello.
Wait, is that what it is? Is it symbols or is it people?
I would get like signs, symbols. I would get dreams, like live visitations. So the way that Sean was able to show us, like, hey, I'm not gone, was it took your breath away. It was like a no-brainer, totally him. And it was that time that my aunt realized, oh my God, you have this too. So she became kind of my guide, definitely my guide in helping me understand myself.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay, so how do people, you can turn it on and off?
Yes, thankfully. I didn't know that at first.
Yeah, because you wonder if you're walking down the street and just people are passing and do you see people or do you hear them or
Feel.
Yeah. Like
All the above.
Yeah.
So I will like look at a person. I can tell if there's a male or female energy, and then all of a sudden I'll start to connect in. But I see, feel, and hear. So, but mostly seeing and hearing are my top ones. Clairvoyance, clairaudience.
Are there also different levels, like loudnesses of those signals, like importance levels?
I love your questions.
I don't know how to phrase that. Is there a red light flashing at this person over here?
Right. So it depends on their energy. So if they were loud, crazy, obnoxious, you can feel when somebody's in the room and they're va-va-voom, and
I
you're
agree.
like, okay.
You can probably feel that too, though, right?
I absolutely.
Yeah, you got that energy, like, hey, everyone, come on in.
Right.
So you can feel that, or you can feel a nice, reserved, private, quiet personality. So it's kind of like almost like a wave, like the big wave or a little bit of a smaller wave, but that's how I'll feel them and see them and sense them.
Now, do you believe that there are scary bad spirits?
I don't know if I want the answer to this. Okay, go ahead.
I believe there are definitely lower energy spirits, but I don't have any interactions with them because I make sure that there's a clear boundary. I know how to protect myself. I don't think about it. I don't go in that
Was
direction.
that something that your aunt had to teach you?
Yes, she had to teach me like how to protect myself. And one of my good friends, Steph Burke, she was a big mentor as well, where she taught me how to protect my white light and call in Archangel Michael to protect that white light. And so I learned all of this along the way, but I didn't know this when I started to, after 14, when I was 18, I went to cosmetology school, and that's where I came out of my spiritual closet. And I started telling everybody it was medium. So I was talking to the dead for 11 months, didn't do hair, failed my license
So
test.
at 14, did your friends know?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. It was hard to say because it was like I didn't want them thinking I was crazy. And they just thought it was my way of, some of them, and they totally told me this later. They were like, okay, admit, when Sean died and you said that you could talk to him, we were just like, just let her grieve.
Right, right.
Let her just say what she's got to do. So yeah, it's when I was 18, I had the anxiety and panic attacks came back in because I had no idea there was an on and off switch.
Yeah.
I had no idea that you had to protect yourself and kind of call
Sure.
on your team. And so that was stuff I had to learn as I went. But thankfully, I had my aunt as well to kind of help me if I had a question.
So, Candace, I know you can turn it on and off, and I didn't ask you this off of the air, and so I apologize for that. But Shiri has she's never met a medium. So is it possible that you can turn that on for her at all?
Well, so when you told me that you were going to have Shiri on the podcast, I looked you up on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
I was like, oh, awesome. Love her energy. And it was instant male energy that was here, And so the grandfather that's trying to come in, he's holding the door for me, but you're lucky. I don't feel like there's a lot of dead people, which is awesome. It's like not a long line. You, on the other hand, you got quite a few that are here as well. So, there's a dad connection that I want to hold on to. So do you understand this? Dad or father-in-law?
Yes.
Okay. So there's that energy that was sitting over you when I walked in, because I know that I was going to talk about mediumship, that they already know. They're like, you're going to talk to them. So you better just get yourself geared up here. Your grandmother's here, though. She kind of knocked out your grandfather out of the way. She said she's way more important than your grandfather.
My daughter's named after her.
I love this.
She was born on her birthday, actually.
Get out. What a coincidence. Not a coincidence. There's never a coincidence.
So I think about her a lot.
Yes. And your daughter, at the time of her being a lot younger, whether she was like 1 or 2, might have been waving, talking, laughing at nothing, and you're like, what are you doing? So now, is it your father-in-law? Who is this? Okay, because he's calling you like his own over here. There is a really tight bond there, just so you know. And I have another female that's also here as well. So hold on to that for a moment. Gosh, you have literally like 3 people around you.
I'll bet.
And Shiri, your grandmother, she's so sweet. She's like, I'll hold, no problem. She's very
I was feeling the same thing. I'm like, you're picking up so much with him. Like, I don't mind if, like,
I switch back and forth. If this is cool with both of you.
Sure,
It's like a
absolutely.
conversation. Yeah. No, like, it's funny because your grandfather's more quiet, but I feel like your grandmother booted him out of the way.
Yeah, she was the boss.
Yes, and she's so cute. Got a little lip on, and that's about it. She's very just beautiful, and she's just hangs out right here. You have another child as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so she said 2. You have 2 total.
Yeah.
So she sees them, loves them. She's so proud of you. You're such an amazing being, and she's just like, look at you shine. I knew you would be like, you would just be in the spotlight, and that's what she loves about you. So just know that she said, now you didn't get to say goodbye to her, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she said, don't worry about it. She wouldn't want you
This is like
there.
almost like...
Yeah, you start sweating and cracking
Yeah.
Takes your breath away.
I'm so Bostonian that like swears come out every other sentence for me, so I'm trying to refrain. But she's not letting me swear. She's like, no, we don't do
She was British.
That. She's putting soap in my mouth right now. But she said that she sees the kids, she loves them, and she said, don't worry about not being there. She's very private. She didn't want everybody to see her the way she was, and so she wanted to be relieved of that. She didn't get to meet your husband. Is that correct?
No.
Yeah, because she's like, okay. She's going like this, and she's like, you be the boss over here. So she's putting a lot of love to him, even though she may have not met him, but she's giving that love. Do you understand the name Connie or do you understand the name Connie? I never get Connie, so I just have to hold on to it constant. So you got a Connie in here? Okay. So
Connie.
hold on to
Yeah,
it. Sometimes
Connie, where?
things make sense later.
Later.
Oh my gosh, so many people figure it out later. They're like, wow. Your grandmother's a little bit more tight-lipped. She's not going to give me all of her private info, especially when it's going out to like the public.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
she's here. And then I felt like I had another female energy that was also here. It was kind of going more towards you. When I see to the side, this can mean like a sister or a friend, but there is a female energy that is here, and I'm going to hold on to that for a moment. But your father-in-law is totally busting my balls, okay? He's like, this is some woo-woo shit, okay? So he's fun, he's funny. I also feel like, who's the mother energy as well? Is this mom for you?
No.
Who's the mother energy?
It could be a grandmother.
Okay, feels more like a mom.
Okay.
So yes, your grandmother, but she has that motherly energy here.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's your voice. You take off after a lot of her, is what I keep
Yes.
seeing. So you are her like little twin, and she's people know her in heaven. We'll just say people know her.
I'm sure they
She's
do.
the mayor. Okay, she is the mayor. But I also felt like I had this female that keeps coming in. Feels like it's not blood related, and it feels like it's more of a friend. I feel like this person passed more on the quicker side here. It's a little bit more of a roller coaster, which would show me if there was illness connected. And my chest feels kind of intense right now.
I'm telling you right now, I don't know if this is who. Well, let's see if I want to wait for a second and see if there's anything else you can tell me, because I'm just wondering if with Shiri here and me here, if this is someone that.
Is this somebody you worked with? Okay, because she is.
Do you know who she's talking
Ooh, I have
about?
chills down my body right now. You worked there as well?
No, but
Okay.
Dave would know that we're talking. For those of you who can't see us, we're talking to my producer, who's standing off to the
Just talking
side,
to a dead
who's
person.
listening. Yeah, who's not dead, by the way. Not yet, anyway. Thank God.
You're good.
Excellent.
So not Connie, but would Colleen possibly be?
Colleen, okay, because it's a different C name for me. Is Colleen a friend of yours who you worked with for many years? Does that make sense? So she's a bit younger, is what it feels
Yes,
like.
she is.
But she's got old soul energy to her.
Yes, she does.
She's going, guys, I'm good. She's like, I screwed
Shiri,
the lights and
Gene
the
will not
microphones.
believe it if he hears this.
It's like, she's amazing. She's like, I fought, and I am good. And so she said, nothing can take me away, okay? And so now I feel her looking up to you, and she just said, thank you. I think that you just welcomed her with open arms, and she's so grateful for you.
So Colleen worked with us at Fox 25. She was our floor director.
Okay.
And she had breast cancer.
That's where she said it went everywhere
fought,
else.
and we all fought with her,
Yes.
alongside her. And Jean Levanchi can tell you the story. And her husband worked there as well. And she had 2 very young babies. And we all fought really hard.
She needs you to know that she
didn't
felt
make it.
that and knows it. And I know towards the end, it was more of like at the end, I knew it was towards, where she just kind of had family there. But you guys just, please know that you're a huge comfort for her. And you told her, you've got this.
Yeah.
You looked her in the eye and you said, you've got this. And she still's got it. And
Good.
she still has this. She is so young. She didn't want to go. And she said it just metastasized, and then I couldn't go from there. So now she has one of each, a boy and a girl,
Yes, she
because
does.
she loves them so much. Her husband's still here. Now, this hasn't been too long since her passing. So when I see this, it means under 5 years. How long has it actually been?
I think it's been a little more than 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold it there. So
Yeah.
she's also giving her husband that permission to date. I don't know if he's already dating again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So she goes, we'll talk about that off air. No, she's cool. She just wants him to have like the best. He means well, and she just is wanting peace and happiness for him.
Yeah.
But please know that the last time you saw her wasn't going to be the last time you saw her. She's going to come into your dreams if she hasn't already. So it's a live visitation. So if you've had a dream of your grandmother who comes in, and maybe she's just standing there, maybe she's waving, it's a hello from heaven. The bad dreams aren't real. So if people panic about that.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
But Colleen's gorgeous, fun. She's just like has a great laugh, and just know that you guys are her family.
So does this mean we get to reunite with our friends and our family?
Totally.
After? Okay.
Absolutely. There's like, once we leave this casing, this physical body, the energy continues. Energy cannot be destroyed.
Did knowing that take away your panic attacks about
Totally.
Devin dying?
I think when Sean died, I was like, okay, if I die, I'm cool because he'll be there. And then I realized all of the amazing connections and validations that I was able to receive. That I was like, there's just no way this is getting made up in my mind. There is a connection to the other side. And if people think that we're just here on this earth and this planet only, no, we got so much amazingness ahead, and it's nothing to fear. And I think that's what triggers people is the unknown.
Absolutely. Candace, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. You've, so much. What'd you think, Shiri?
Well, I'm no longer what do we call me?
Skeptic?
No.
no, spirit version.
I'm no longer a spirit version. So
Wow, we saw that happen right here before our eyes.
Exactly. Right here.
Let's tell everybody how they can get hold of you if they're interested in reading.
Yeah, so I do events in the New England area, so you can look at CandaceDalton.com.
Great.
I'm also on Instagram at _Candace Dalton. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's my jam.
Yeah.
And that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a treat. Come back,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You promise?
Oh, absolutely. Totally.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. Terrific. All right, everybody. Candace Dalton. Don't forget the name and be sure you check it out. This is Carrigan and Company. The holiday season may be behind us, but when you look in the mirror, do you still see some lasting effects? Well, I've got the answer. A hydrofacial at Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa in Beverly. These relaxing, fabulous facials include deep cleansing, exfoliation, and hydration. You'll notice instant results. And my friends at Sienna are offering hydrofacial packages that include awesome savings and will put you on the path of radiant and hydrated skin. Schedule 2 facials and get the third half off. Start the new year with a fresh glow. That's SiennaAesthetics.com. This segment of Carrigan and Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Well, it's that time when we wrap things up. It's been difficult to wrap things up, huh?
I feel like I just went through some things.
So, just very quickly here, I mean,
Wow.
if you had never been exposed to a medium, and were you shocked when she started talking about Grandma?
Yeah, it was kind of amazing actually because I think of my grandma a lot and not saying goodbye to her and like what she'd think of the girls. So for me, it felt kind of like closure. It was really emotional to tell you the truth.
It is. It is. Did you lose? You obviously must have lost her before you were married, so you were pretty young.
So I was married, but it was at a time where she was on the West Coast in California with my uncle, and I was in North Carolina. That was when Matt was in the Marines and stationed at Camp Lejeune, and we were just so broke that we didn't have money
to go see
travel.
her. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad you had that
Me
experience.
too.
Yeah, she's really amazing, huh?
Like I said, I feel like I went through some things.
Yeah, Candace Dalton, folks, don't forget her. And if
Really
you're,
special.
check her out on Instagram because you can reach out to her. I know she said she actually does readings on Instagram.
That's
which
so cool.
is really amazing.
I believe her too.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you don't know, like I believe her.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're sitting across from her and you're looking at her, you can just see, and I love that she goes, hold that for just a second, and then she comes back to it. But she has there's something very genuine about her and in her eyes. I have met other psychic mediums that I thought they were making it up.
Yeah.
And I'm just
I
being
didn't know what
honest
to
about
think, and
that.
I really liked her.
But she was not making that up. And that's the C word, and she thought it was one, and then it was another. When she started to explain it, I knew exactly who she was talking about. So we do this thing here called the Fast Five, College Hype Fast Five. College Hype, making a difference one T-shirt at a time. Visit collegehype.com today. All right, Shiri, are you ready, my love?
Yes, and I'm not peeking because I want to be
All right,
surprised.
here we go. First thing I'm going to ask you is, who was your celebrity crush when you were a teenager?
When I was a teenager, oh gosh, Bruce Willis.
Dry January, yes or no?
Yeah, I'm not a drinker really.
Do you prefer a beach or a mountain vacation?
Mountain.
Why?
I'm from New Hampshire. It just speaks to me. I like the woods.
Are you guys skiers?
We're not, but don't tell people.
Okay.
I need a
all right.
lesson. Okay.
What's your favorite dessert?
Anything chocolate, maybe chocolate mousse comes to mind.
I can see that you don't eat a lot of it, but I'm glad that
I
you
love
enjoy it. And what was the last show that you binge watched?
Have you seen Lioness?
No.
Very good, but I'm also very excited for Severance to come out. It's coming out is it this week? It comes
think
out.
it's this week,
It's so funky
exactly.
and weird and good.
So you
so good.
You like the funky, weird, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I'm doing Squid Games with my kids.
Are you doing that?
Yes. Have you watched it?
So I watched 2 of the first episode, and I was so freaked out by how dark. It's so
twisted
dark.
and good. Okay, well, I have teenage daughters who are kind of into twisted and dark, but that's funny. So I have a show for everyone. Like I watch that with the girls.
Of course.
I watch Severance with my husband.
With your husband,
Yeah.
exactly. I do have to say, streaming is the greatest thing that I think has ever happened.
I'm not
I
sure
absolutely
it's great
love
for
it.
news.
Oh no, you're right about that part.
But I
of it.
love it for personal
I
entertainment.
know, I do too. My husband and I, it's great like at this time of year, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing, although you have to go to bed a lot earlier, but we get a show And then we can't wait till the evening comes to that point, and then we sit down together and we get we watch one more episode.
We're doing that with Silo. I have like a million shows that we're watching.
There you go.
Did you do Silo?
I didn't. No, we didn't watch
that's a good
Silo.
one too. We're doing that in real time though. We have to wait every week.
I'm so terrible about that now. I'm like, what do you mean we have to wait?
I'm going to give you a list. I've
Okay,
got a
that'd be
list of all the
good.
good
You can
ones.
send me a list. That'd be great because we're always looking for new ones.
I watch too much TV.
I will tell you this too. It's like a social thing. You get to a dinner with people and you go, is anybody watching anything? And it's amazing how everybody's like, oh, we're watching.
I agree.
So it's great. Here's a T-shirt from our good friends at College Hype.
Oh, this is
and that
great.
is for
my
you.
daughters are
And
totally
it's
stealing this from me.
Yeah,
I
they're
love it.
soft and they're wonderful, and we appreciate the folks over there at College Hype. I want to tell you, this has been so much fun. I am so glad that you came in to spend time. We learned so much about you, and it was great fun to watch you learn about the medium. And Tom was, if you haven't seen the book, be sure you do.
Yeah, and note to self: do not buy microgreens. They are out.
They are out. No small plates. That's ridiculous. We've learned all of that. And I will tell you, that book is really fascinating because in between the recipes, he does talk about his life, and he's really frank.
I think we can both agree, though, we are never going to cook a poached chicken in 30 minutes.
I may never cook a poached chicken.
Period. End of sentence.
Thank you.
Got it.
Shiri, thank you. And everybody can see you early in the mornings over there on Boston 25. I still call it Fox 25.
That's
you know
okay.
that, So thank you very much for being here. And thanks to all of you for being here. We're so glad that you could be here. Be sure you follow us on social, and we will see you right back here next time. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Carrigan & Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Carrigan & Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Carrigan & Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley. And our social media managers are Grace Carrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.